Welcome to the Hardwood Mills video manual. Okay, the first thing you do is just open the box, as you can see there, and check all the contents is there. And lay all the contents out on the ground. Next thing is the setup for the mill head. So you can see we've done a layout. This is as per your paper manual as well. So we're just putting 2 bolts in each end, plus the retaining plate. You can see the retaining plate. So one of these poles will be round and one will be square, and you can just see how they just simply go together there. My assistant's having a little trouble with the nylons. Now just take a minute to note in your paper manual, obviously one plate goes on one side, and the wheels go to the inside. Okay, what we're doing here is we're hacksawing the crate. This is a good way if you don't have a hoist or any way to get the crate out. We're just hacksawing it here, and you know, you want to put something down so you don't scratch the mill. So we've put just that, the cardboard that's in the box, and then we've put the shade cloth. You just want to keep the machine nice and fresh and clean. So we're just dragging. It's a 2-person job at this point. We're just dragging it out. Okay, we're inserting the carriage assembly or the pole assembly into the mill when it's laying down. This is probably the easiest way if you don't have a hoist to do it. You can just see there, we're just pushing it in. And we do the other side. Now just note in this, obviously the wheels go to the inside, and where the push bar goes, that's the black bit at the back, that goes to the rear. Okay, we're just going to stand now. We've put the push plate. We're just putting the push plate in. Just got to get these to sit perfectly square, and as you can see, we've done that, and we're just standing the mill up. Now we've put the lifting plate on the top of the mill, and we're just putting the leveling ruler assembly on there. Now I actually prefer, in this video we've put this leveling mill assembly to that plate to the outside. I actually think it's better to put it into the inside. And this bar here, this is what the actual ruler or measuring part sits on. So we're just putting that on there. And just tightening up the end. You can see the lifting points there as well. Okay, we're just assembling our wire ropes. You can see they've kinked that a bit there. You want that nice and straight, so you just run those. You can see as per how we're assembling this, the mill. Just run the cables through and linking it up on the other side. Winding that so the mill sits nice and taut. As you can see there. Okay, this is the water bottle holder. So we're just putting the water bottle holder on the back of the mill. You can see this is fairly self-explanatory. Just tightening all of that up. Now the water bottle goes in, and the tube underneath through the base. Just run this down through the position. Now this is on the right hand side of the mill as you look from the back of the mill. I'm just putting this there. You just want to make sure your angle is right so that your lubricant sprays onto the the blade. And you can see how that all goes together. Good little tip is to tighten up the stop valves, that's the tap. Now, the accelerator assembly, you can see how we put that together. We're just, a lot of people, they don't tighten these on the engine, so you need to tighten them. Another little trick with the accelerator is just to make sure that you back off the governor, that which you can see in the manual. We're just tightening up the cam locks that hold the mill from going up and down. Just make sure they're nice and firm but not too tight, so the mill easily goes up and down but still locks. I like to actually undo them and then push on the mill with the winch just to make sure it won't fall. Now we're just testing. I always put a little bit of oil on the mills when they're new, a little bit of WD-40, so they go up and down. Okay, this is the track assembly. You can see how we've laid the track assembly out. You can see the support plates in the centre on each track. Okay, so you do a layout first. Make sure where all the log dogs go, that's the bit that holds the timber, all off onto one side, as you can see there. And we're just starting to assemble the track now. Okay, obviously putting the bolts in. Now with the bunks, the centre bunks, or the bunks that join the two track systems or two extensions together, they have 4 bolts. The ones on the end only have 2. So as you can see, 2, and then you get to here, and that bunk there, that should have 4. You put them over like so, and you can see you put your bracing underneath. And you continue this step through the entire track system. Now you'll just see the entire track system built now. And again, note that the log dogs, or the bit that holds the wood, is supported on the right side. You can see how we've just come through here like so. So you've got 2 bolts, and then where the track joins, 4. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is the levelling legs. A little trick I like to do, you can see we've wound that all the way down, but I actually like to leave the thread about 1 inch up, so you do have some adjustment in the leg system. Just see that we've screwed all of them on, so there's 6 of those per track system, so 18 per machine. We're just rolling this over. You don't want the mill to crash down or bend the frame, so it's good to have 2 people to roll it over at this point. We're rolling over now. The mill will probably sink into the ground, you know, because the point pressure or surface pressure is too much. So a good thing to do is we always recommend you put the mill up on dunnage and screw it in. It just gives a little bit more rigidity in the mill. Okay, this is the log brace system. This is fairly self-explanatory. On the basic mill that you get, the 6 metre mill, there's 2 of these systems. So you can see putting them in, and these can be positioned in several parts of the mill. You just choose the most appropriate part for you. The mill is you know, got a lot of auxiliary drilling holes in it, so it can be put, you know, up and down in about 3 different positions. Okay, the stop plates, you some people neglect to put these on, but they're important. You don't want the mill to run off the end of the track. Obviously we're tightening all of these, which is not shown in the film, with spanners. Now I like to we run a string line, and you can see that's out a bit, so we're running a string line down the side of the mill to make sure the mill is running straight, and you can see that's, you know, it's bowing out a bit, so then we've got to pull the mill around to get the string line to run level down the side of the mill. And we do this on both sides. Now this is leveling the mill. I've ran the string line over the top of the mill, but it's actually better to have the string line sitting about an inch above the tracks, so you get a better idea of height. Problem with running it over the top of the tracks, it doesn't show the high bunks, it only shows the low, so it's better to put this string line about an inch above the track. So, you know, put it up on a stake at each end or something like that. Okay, the sweepers, these are incredibly important. The track sweeps, what they do, they keep the dust out of the wheels. Without these, it's sort of like going over speed humps and the mill won't run as well. Okay, so you need to level the mill head. So basically a log dog is a good thing. It's a good solid piece of steel. So we've put 2 in here, and we're just trying to get the mill head to sit nice and level with the blade. And you can see there, even spacing. Now oil. Just putting 4-stroke oil into the engine. Okay, now into the water tank, we always run a bit of lubricant, a bit of, you know, washing up powder, washing up detergent's great. It fattens the water up, so the water gets carried across the blade, but also cleans the blade when the blade's cutting through the logs. So we use lubricant, even in pines. It's a really good idea. Okay, so the blades always seem to come round the wrong way from when we get them from our saw doctors, so we need to hoop them or turn them inside out. Now a lot of people worry that they'll snap, but they won't. But always wear gloves and facial protection when using these things. These are quite a dangerous blade when they're out of the mill, so you do need to keep that in mind. They're razor sharp when they're brand new, so you need to be very careful. Okay, my assistant's just putting the blade onto the mill for the first time. This is how you change a blade or fit a new blade. So she's just putting it there. Now you need to, so it's just going to put them into the blade guides at this point. Okay, so she's got them in the blade guides. So make sure that they're even at the top. Now notice that the helmet, as I said, you always want to keep yourself fairly protected from these blades. They are incredibly sharp. Now you just put a little bit of tension on there. Now we need to track the blade, which we're going to cover now, blade tracking. Okay, so she's just putting a little bit of tension on the blade. Now she's going to get a torque wrench. Now the torque wrench is set to 55 foot-pounds. This is a really good accurate way of determining the correct blade tension. So you'll hear the torque wrench will click off, so it's clicked off. Now we're just going to adjust the blade. We're just opening the blade guides. You want them wide open when you first put your first blade on both sides, because you want nothing to influence the blade when you're tracking a new blade on. Now tracking means just fitting a blade onto the machine and getting it to run right. So you don't want your blade guides pushing on it, or the black bearing pushing on it, it gives a false position on where the blade will be. So the blade, okay, so see how they're open, and on the other end it'll be open as well, and that's push fully rearward. Now we turn the blade. We don't do this while the machine's running. We turn the blade and we just see where the tracking is. Now the blade should be flush with the back of the band wheels. So you can see my assistant just feeling in there to see, and she'll go around to the other end and do the same. So when the machines are new, you do need to adjust your tracking, and we'll show you that next. So this is tracking one end, so you undo the locking nut. Now if you wind that nut inwards or clockwise, that will bring the blade back, but to the back, or back to the back of the band wheels. Anti-clockwise will push the blade forward. So you do this normally in quarter turn increments, but we're just quickly showing you just basically what this adjustment does. So by turning this clockwise at the moment, that will bring the blade back. So you can see the blade sticking out there a little bit, and you'll see the blade coming back on, and as I said, you want it flush or level with the back of the band wheels. There you go. And say it's just out a little bit, so she's just got to do further adjustment. So again, winding it in, so the blade must be forward. So just by winding it, you just turn it slowly. Now, always turn it the way the blade cuts. You can see that, feeling the tracking, checking the tracking. Okay. Now this is the other side of the mill. The tracking is different. You need 2 spanners to do this. So you hold the end nut and undo one side. Now it's the principle's the same. You hold the bolt on the end and the locking nut, and then you force the tracking side by side. Okay, this is adjusting the back bearing or the push bearing. Now with this, you want about a paper thickness between the bearing and the back of the blade. You don't want these scrubbing on the blade when the mill's not pushing. These bearings aren't expensive, but you don't want to be replacing them if you don't want to have to. So you can just see that. Now we're adjusting the blade blocks. In this video we're showing using a piece of paper. I actually prefer to actually just scourge the blade blocks, just have them hard up against the blade. And this was an earlier video that we've made. I like to have these quite tight, so when you turn them you hear like a little bit of friction. So that's a little bit too far open on that demonstration. Okay, just a little bit of fuel. Now we recommend not to use ethanol fuels in these machines. I've been told by Kohler that the 98 fuel is the best. Okay, we're just going to show you a quick cut. This is just on a piece of pine, but as you'll discover, these machines will do iron bar. Okay, this is resawing, so making 4x2s. You do that by stacking timbers on their side, as you can see, and then resawing the timber. Okay, and you can see the process of making 4x2s and usable timbers like that. I think that'd be more like 2x2s, but how you stack them. Okay, troubleshooting. What causes the blade to run off? What causes problems with the blade to waver? Okay, in this we just showed the blade has wavered up and down. This is normally caused by poor blade tension and or the blade blocks being too open. Cupping like this is caused exclusively by bad blade tension, so your blade tension isn't tight enough. And you get these things right and you can cut incredibly hard iron bark, like as you can see there in the video now. But again, it's important to have your blade blocks nice and tight and the blade tension correct. You have these things and we haven't found a timber that you can't cut with these machines. Also, your feed speed is important, not to push the mill too quick. That can affect the quality of the cuts. It can cause the blade to ride up and down.